Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the CSINC and UBC's Vancouver Point Grey campus are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. Today, you may be joining us from many places with many different histories, and you can learn more about the traditional owners of these lands at native-land.ca. The link is in the chat. As the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation is coming up on September 30th, I would also like to share a list of what you can do on that day and beyond, as outlined by Musqueam on their website for Day for Truth and Reconciliation. So you can participate in events in your area or wear orange. You can learn something new by reading all 94 calls to action or one of many other TRC reports. Reflect on how you can personally and professionally implement the calls to action and step forward to create change. Donate within your means. Consume art created by Indigenous artists, watch movies and TV shows created by Indigenous peoples, read books written by Indigenous authors, or seek out art exhibits and exhibitions that showcase Indigenous visual artists. Okay, and I'll just ask everyone to mute yourselves in the room. That would be great, thank you. You should be able to see a QR code on your screen now, and I will also send the link in the chat. You can please use the QR code or the link to check in and let us know you're here. We should just take a couple of moments. You can see the password is 1234, and then you just have to enter your student ID. My name is Amir Hariri. I'm an employer and alumni engagement advisor with the CSINC. I'll be your moderator today. Whilst in our event space, I would also like to remind everyone that all members of the UBC community are expected to uphold a respectful environment in which respect, civility, diversity, opportunity, and inclusion are valued. For those of you who may not know, the Center for Student Involvement and Careers is home to UBC's Central Career Office and a resource for all UBC students. At the Central Career Office, you will find our Work Learn program, our career development coaches who provide advising sessions, virtual workshops, and online resources, as well as the employer and alumni team who can create opportunities to engage with employer partners and professionals through career fairs, employer information sessions, and our Careers Online job board. You can visit us at Brock Hall or through your account on Careers Online to learn more about our services. All the participants are muted for the duration of the event, but feel free to turn on your camera, as it'll be nice to see some of your faces as we go through our presentations. You will have an opportunity for a Q&A in the second half of today's office hour. Some of you have already sent your questions in advance, and I'll do my best to go through those questions as well. You're welcome to either send in your questions through Zoom chat once we go to the Q&A portion, or use your mic and camera, and I highly suggest you do that, to chat with Razi and ask your questions. Please raise your hand once you do have a question, and I'll do my best to provide an opportunity for you to ask your question. Okay, I am now happy to introduce today's speaker, Razi. Razi is a UBC alumni and currently works at Rogers Communication as a senior manager of data and analytics. Before joining Rogers, she worked in both enterprise-level companies like Huawei and Nokia, successful startups like 3+ Practice and Zennea Technologies, and telecommunication lab at the University of British Columbia. This diverse background gave her knowledge of the AI lifecycle to increase returns on data science and AI investments, and to understand the best strategy for end-to-end AI science and AI investments, model lifecycle management using MLOps methodologies. She's always tried to bring the community together. She's currently the co-chair of the Women in Technology group with Rise for Women at Rogers and chair of the MLOps World Chapter in Vancouver. She's passionate about bringing equity and diversity in STEM and raising awareness around the barriers women face in STEM. In this office hour, Razi will focus on her career story and how networking helped jumpstart her career in Canada as an international student. I'll now give the floor to Razi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Amir, for the kind introduction, and thanks everyone. I'm very excited to be here. UBC is my sweet home. I'm really happy that I'm gonna spend next 1.5 hours with you guys, and I hope you find this session useful. So going through the agenda for today, I'm going to talk about my journey and what I've learned during my couple of past years for finding jobs and networking. I've highlighted my and I because this is important to know. Each person's journey is different, and we face different obstacles and different challenges along the way. This is important. And also something that I'm not going to share today, which I'm happy to share in another session with you guys. But today I'm not going to talk about my failures, my unsuccessful attempts of getting a job, my rejections, and I'm not going to talk about my regrets. So it's all happy and smiley today, but not every day and every thing that we do in our life is has happy ending. Awesome. If we can go to the next slide. A little bit about my background. I have 2 masters in telecommunication. One of them is a master in satellite communication. While I was a student in Vancouver University of Technology back in my home country, I attended a career fair and got hired as data analyst or transmission engineer at Huawei. Our job was to analyze network data and get the insights for managers and business from that data. During the time I was in Huawei, as I was part of something that they called FBI or fresh blood ingestion. I hold so many learning sessions for my colleagues, and I try to convey the information I learned in university to them. After 2.5 years in Huawei, I found a job in Nokia as a data scientist, or something they call optimization engineer, via networking with a couple of my friends, and I worked there about a year. After that, I decided to go back to school. I started my second master at UBC, moved to Canada. My second master was focused on mobile communication and 5G and machine learning, intersection of telecommunication and machine learning. I did my master's in the ECE department under supervision of Professor Luz Lampi. During my master's, I tried, as an international student, I didn't have work permit, but I was free to do volunteering. So I did as much as I could. I was VP of the ECE Graduate Student Society. I was VP of the Graduate Student Society of UBC. I volunteered in many events in the department. I participated in Antenna Pathways networking and mentorship program, and I attended, I guess it was West Coast Career Fair at UBC, and it was close to my graduation, and I got an offer from Rogers during that career fair. But the job started in 6 months, so I had 6 months gap in between. That's where I started networking and talking with people and see if there is an opportunity, because I already had my work permit. So I was looking for short-term contractor jobs. I was able to get 2 jobs in theory plus practice, which focused on auction planning for infrastructure of Ontario, and Zennea Technologies, which focused on machine learning for detecting snoring in the records from patients, so that the device they were implementing could kind of prevent patients from snoring. After that, I joined Rogers as a technology master grad. After 6 months in Rogers, I got promoted to senior manager data and analytics. And during that time, I didn't stop volunteering. I chaired a successful events on MLOps, and I chaired machine learning and production for Vancouver chapter, and I'm also co-chairing Rogers Women in Technology. If you can go to the next slide. So something, just something I forgot to mention about the previous one. Something interesting that I want you guys to look at it is that all of my jobs, I got them even either through career fair or networking. Yes, definitely, I kept applying online on the job postings. I kept looking for jobs in LinkedIn, in websites, but my success was via networking and by attending career fair. And I don't know the percentage, but I can guess about more than 80% of the jobs in the industry are hidden, and you can find them via networking. This is really important, and I'm going to talk about networking in my next slide. So it doesn't matter where you are in your career. If you haven't started yet, if you're a student, if you are already a senior manager or a director, you need to network with the people in your community. Volunteer in the communities. It can be university events, meetups, conferences. Go there, raise your hand, and volunteer. If there is a gap between, like, after you're done with the school to find a new job, fill those gaps with volunteer jobs and contractor projects. Don't let any gaps in your resume, because that's not a good thing on the resume. When you are networking with people, don't focus on the people in your area of interest. Science is connected. So if you are studying math, diversify your skill and talk and network with people in biology, in geology, in engineering. There is a really high chance that the problem you are trying to solve is very similar to what another person is doing in their research area, but with different terminologies, with different variables. And you'll find it when you network with people. So diversify with people, diversify your network, and speak in simple terms. Don't overcomplicate things. Another thing which is really important is you should have your elevator pitch ready. Say you are in an elevator with, I don't know who's, Elon Musk, and he asks you, what do you do? And you have only 20 floors until the elevator reaches to your destination. It's less than 1 minute. You want to impress him in that 1 minute. Prepare your elevator pitch, and it is important. Make it strong, and you should be able to summarize your values. You should be to the point, and you should show what you can add to any company. And I will talk about that in the next slides. But make sure you have elevator pitch. One thing that helped me really to prepare my elevator pitch was the questions I was getting during the interviews about my behavioral questions, interview behavioral question, or sometimes technical question. It got me thinking that how I can connect the dots and present what I've done as a story. So work on your storytelling skills. Another thing that is really important is to get a mentor. Reach out to the people on LinkedIn, in your university, and ask them if they can be your mentor. When you're reaching out, be to the point. Share the question, the purpose you are reaching out, and that increases the possibility of them getting back to you when they see, okay, they can help you, or you have a concern that they can help you with. Work on your negotiation skills. One of the really great books that I read is The Never Split the Differences. It helps you to work on your negotiation skills. It was a really great book. I learned a lot from it. And also, I added a couple of things I learned from Harvard Business School about critical thinking. It doesn't matter what is your role or function, you should ask the right question in the right place. Sometimes you ask the right question from the right person, but it's not the right time. or maybe he or she is not the right person. The heart of critical thinking is the ability to formulate effective questions. Make sure that you are having this conversation in a way that the mentor or the person you're reaching out believes that you are listening, believes that you are open to new ideas, ask follow-up questions. Don't rush it. If you have an idea, sleep on it and get back to them in a week when you had your mind, you had the time to think about it and you're ready, and listen more than you talk. So if we can go to the next slide. Something about skills. So it really depends on your goal industry, but the type of the skills that you need to acquire. But something that is important is that you should diversify your skills. So if you know how to code in Python, learn C or learn cloud engineering. Try to get familiar with the tools that is being used in industry, something that we don't get to use them in the university, but getting even a very naive familiarity with it, it can be really helpful during your interview. Get exposure to multiple technologies. So during my work at Rogers, I worked as a data scientist, data engineer, machine learning engineer, product owner, and data SME. So it was like a hat to me. I put on this hat in a situation, and the next meeting I was a machine learning engineer. In one meeting I was product owner, and in another I was data scientist. By taking on taking ownership of different problems and trying to solve them, I diversified my skills and got familiar with many people in my company, which helped me a lot when I was getting the promotion. Don't overcomplicate subjects. Based on my experience, people who overcomplicate, they don't want to help. They try to be to the point. Try to translate your knowledge to what people should hear. Don't overcomplicate things. And also, if you have a chance, add certificate to your skills. It's always good. It doesn't hurt. And something that helped me during last couple of years to get most of my time, to use very efficiently my time, was the things that I learned from Deep Work book. It basically helps you to understand or to learn how to be more efficient, how to be focused, how to learn new skills. Learning new skills is not easy. It needs dedication, it needs focus. And this book helped me a lot. If we can go to the next slide, please. Other than technical skills, a huge part of finding a job or getting promotion is your leadership skills. And I know we can't be a leader, like no one teaches us how to be a leader, but being a volunteer is the best opportunity to get leadership skills. Try to take ownership of the problem, break it down to smaller digestible pieces, and lead people around you to solve that issue toward the mission, toward the goal. Also, you, at the same time that you are a mentee, you can be a mentor. There are people, like if you are a fourth-year student, third-year students need your help. You can be their mentor. So try to help people around you and act as a mentor. That helps you a lot to work on your communication skills, to work on your leadership skills. So that helped me a lot. And try to look at the big picture, connect the dots, and try to see the connections when you are in a community. This is a skill that leaders get acquired during their work, and that helps a lot. yeah, I also attached some of the photos that my volunteering during last year. And yeah, we can go to the next slide. Okay, interview. As a international student, so I told you, I worked in Huawei as a data analyst and in Nokia as a data scientist. My job there, so at the time, there was no data scientist or data analyst job. I mean, they didn't call it data analyst. I was transmission engineer and optimization engineer, but I was doing the tasks as a data scientist and data analyst. So when I came to Canada, my first attempts to find a job was with transmission engineer and optimization engineers. And with the limited interviews that I got, I had to, based on the question that I got, I realized they don't know what is transmission engineer. They don't know what is optimization engineer. And every time I had to let them know and describe my job description for them and convince them that, hey, this is data analyst. The important thing is that show what you have done, translate the job, the name of the job that you had there to what people call it here. And it's same for different industries as well. Say, if you want to change industry from gaming to telecommunication, names are different. Some people call data analyst reporter. Some people call data analyst data scientist. And it depends on the industry that you're applying for. Try to translate your skills to the goal industry. Be to the point. Don't put everything on your resume. If you're applying for, now I'm telecommunication. If I want to apply for game industry, I can't write most of the things that I'm doing at telecom because they don't understand it, because they have different terminologies. So I try to translate my achievements, my tasks in a language that they understand in the goal industry, which in case is gaming, for example. So make your resume different for every industry that you apply, and sometimes different companies that you apply. Make it in a way that when a leader from that company looks at it, they can understand it. They don't need your presence there to tell them what does it mean. Something that I learned, and it was a really important thing, was that do not target companies. So same companies, like especially corporates, they are huge. They have different teams with different projects. Say a company, X company is a really awesome company. You've heard it everywhere. There can be some jobs inside that you apply that are not good. And of course, definition of good and bad is different for everyone, but target the teams and the projects, not the companies. You can find you can learn a lot in small companies that you've never heard about them, but you can, and it can be like the other way in the big companies that are really famous. So target the good teams, projects, and the only way to find that is networking. Reach out to people and learn about what they are doing, the projects they are doing. Ask about the details of their roles during the interview, your task, and who you are reporting to, what are your deliverables. So ask a lot of questions, and don't accept the job offer or don't apply because it's a company that seems to be really good. So one skill that we all need to learn is to handle difficult conversation and negotiation skills. So it happens a lot that you have conflict with someone. You should be able to professionally solve it. And that's a skill that you learn over time. There's no perfect company. So if they were perfect, they will not hire anyone. So if you go to a company, you'll start working there and you see that, okay, some things is not as expected as you think, or you even sometimes you join a company, GitHub seems to be a really common tool that everyone should use. Just an example. You go there and you realize they are not using GitHub. This can be a devastating thing for anyone that, hey, I'm working in a team that they don't use the obvious GitHub. I don't look at it this way. I look at it as an opportunity that, hey, I have detected the problem. I can take ownership and I make it to the actionable item, and I can be the person who solves it. So look at the problem in this way. And everywhere, there are problems everywhere. Do not put gaps in your resume. I talked about it. Each interview is a networking opportunity. I will talk about it in the next slide. I have a really good story to share about it. And something important is that after each interview, reach out and ask questions and ask for their feedback. Not all of them respond, but the ones that respond give you really good things about, give you really good feedbacks. This graph on this page is my favorite graph. It is getting interview, going to interview, getting rejection, getting another rejection. This is hard. This is very difficult. And no one really can say that the job hunting is easy. It's not anyone's favorite task. But look at it in a way that you are growing. If you are failing, if you are getting rejection, that means you are getting out of your comfort zone. And this is a good sign. It's scary. There are some learnings, but at the end of them, you are growing and you are extending your comfort zone. I really I suggest that you go over this graph over and over, and don't get disappointed if you get rejections. That's a sign for you that you are trying to grow. And next slide. Okay, so I told you that each interview is a networking opportunity. So one way of networking, in my opinion, is getting an interview. Doesn't matter if you get the job or not. If you get it, perfect, awesome. But if you don't get it, you had the opportunity to talk with some awesome people in the industry. I can share my story about it. I had an interview with a company. It went well, but I didn't get the job. And it had some reasons, but doesn't matter. It's not the story here. I didn't get the job, but they were really impressed with my skills. So what they did, the hiring managers, they introduced me to their network of people. They introduced me to a Goodfellow 1 and Goodfellow 2. Goodfellow 2 introduced me to a technical leader, and I got my job at Zennea Technologies. And Goodfellow 1 introduced me to a mentorship program, which through that I got familiar with 20 plus tech leaders, and I got my job at Theory Plus Practice. I attached, you can scan the barcode and look at the video that the Athena Pathways has created about that experience, my mentorship experience. But I mean, it could have been like one failed interview like other failures. But during that interview, I impressed them. Even though they didn't decide to go on with my application, it can have many reasons. It's not personal at all, but they saw the opportunity and my skills. So it was a great networking opportunity for me. I'm still connected with them. I still chat with them. Actually, it was FinAI, and their CEO actually was the hiring manager. So it just opened, they gave me something more than a job. They introduced me to their network, and it is much more exciting than getting only a job. And the next slide, please. Okay, this is the last slide. If you want to connect with me, I'll be on UBC Career Fair on October 6th. You can come by, we can chat, you can give me your resume if you are interested to join Rogers. I am leading AI Nerve Center there. We are doing lots of interesting and exciting AI and ML projects. I will be really excited to meet you there. And also you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm a bit slow on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be better, but yeah, these are the two ways that you can connect with me. And yeah, Amir, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Razi. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to spotlight the two of us for this conversation. Okay. Thank you, Razi. That was great. So we'll move right into our Q&A. So everybody, if you want to turn on your camera, feel free to do that now. I'll put the offer out again. We would love to hear from you here with questions. I have a lot of questions to ask Razi that you've already sent in advance, some of you, so we can get to that. But if you have a question you want to ask Razi here, type it in or raise your hand and I can tag you in and you can ask your question. If I don't see a hand raised right now, I can just start with one of the questions you've sent, and then we'll go to you in a second. So, Razi, I'll start with this question. So it says, hi, Razi, I would like to know if you knew what you wanted to do from the start. If yes, what made you so certain? If no, how did you decide on when to shift your focus?
The short answer is that I didn't know, and I still don't know. So life is a journey. I try to experience different things. I try to get out of my comfort zone, but the best way, I think, to find your passion is to research on different careers, reach out to people, diversify your network, and ask from them what is the they in their life, in their work is like. Talk with people, reach out, review your work and project history. If there was something that you didn't really feel the time when you were doing it, that's your passion. If you don't have it, explore different things. Volunteering is a great opportunity to learn and explore new things. And just remember, if you failed and you tried something, it wasn't a success, it wasn't what you really wanted, then it's part of the deal. Like you'll find it. You'll explore in different things, and that's totally fine to fail.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about networking a lot. I think that's where that network comes in. It's even if something's not working out, you can take advantage of that network. So it's not like you haven't been doing anything as you go through this process. So that's really good advice. Okay, I see a hand raised. So Sambina, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, for sure. So it was a really great presentation. Thank you so much for that. I was wondering if you could tell a little bit about if your team is going to be hiring for new grad roles for next year. And if so, is there, do you have the opportunity to send your resume directly? Like what kind of plan does Rogers have for that?
Yes, actually we are hiring for next year for technology master grad and new grad program that I got hired in Rogers. And you can stop by the career fair October 6th, and we can talk about it. And you can hand in your resume to me and send your resume.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
No worries. Yeah.
Okay. So no other questions here. I'll just keep going with whatever was sent to us in advance. Again, turn on your camera. It makes it livelier to see faces. So feel comfortable if you can to do that. Okay, I'll go next to this question, Razi. What is your advice for someone with multiple interests and unsure of what path to focus
on? So you don't know what is your path until you start from somewhere. So my way of thinking about is that we can spend a lot of time thinking about the most efficient way of doing something. That's but I call it procrastination. Just do it, and if you fail, that's okay. Take the risk and start from one of your interests and see if that works for you. If it didn't, then go to the next one. Small projects, work with the like communities and the small projects, and there you can learn if it's something that really you're passionate about and you want to spend most of the rest of your life on this or not. And just stop thinking and start doing, if it makes sense.
Yeah, and to build on that, I guess we'll start with your skills. So what skills did you develop early on in your career that have helped you today?
I guess being able to handle difficult conversations and not being shy, speaking up, raising my hand, taking ownership, taking accountability. These are the things that really helped me during my career. So to be honest, technical skills, that's something that everyone can get it. Like today we have YouTube. We have so many learning materials. Everyone can learn any programming language. The most important skill that you have is the problem solving skills and your communication skills. Being able to formulate a problem into something that can be solved. We call it in the papers, in academic papers, there's a section always in all of the papers we call problem formulation, where we take the different variables, put them X, Y, Z, and we formulate a problem and we say, hey, the problem that you were talking, which is low internet speed of the 5G, can be formulated as this, and I'm going to solve this mathematically. In the real world, you don't solve problem with Y and X and mathematics most of the time, but during all of the courses that we pass and we learn, we acquire the problem solving skills. That is really important to showcase that you are able to solve a problem. And alongside that, to be able to show the value you're adding. That's the communication skills. That's how you brand yourself, how you take ownership, how loud you are in the company, and you're like, hey, I can do this, and these are the support I need, and these are the steps, and here I am, I can solve it. But yeah, these are the things I learned.
And I think there were a few questions around the skill conversation and the resume building piece. You sort of answered this, but something just came in the chat, so I'm just going to repeat this here. So when checking your resume for data scientist roles specifically, what are the must-have points or skills that can gain you an interview? So you just talked about communication and problem solving. Would that be it? Are there some specific hard skills that you can add for, again, data scientist roles?
I think the best reference is the job posting. So the hiring manager put everything they want in the job posting. Read the job posting and you add them to your resume. Not for sure you should know them, but read it and everything you need is there. That's, I think, the best reference. There is no formula for data scientist job that, hey, you should have Python or C or Databricks on your resume, then you'll get a job. No, different companies use different tools. Some use Azure, some use AWS. And going through the job posting, that helps a lot. Sometimes now that I'm on the other side of the table and I have interviews, I interview applicants, I see some of them, they don't read the job application at all. They just applied and they were lucky to get the interview. But when you talk with them, you realize that they didn't read the job posting, and it is not good. I think the best reference for you is the job posting.
Okay, great. Okay, we have a question here. What daily habits or actions do you curate in your personal life that you think contribute positively to your professional life and in maintaining a balance?
So the book I introduced, Deep Work, it helped me a lot. So I have a specific focus time on my calendar where I don't answer any email, I don't distracted by phone. I spend that 1 hour only and only on something that I want to learn new. And that's really important to have. Deep work is something with the technology, with the internet, with the Instagram, Facebook, it's really easy to get distracted. I highly recommend reading the Deep Work and using what is mentioned there to create that 1 hour focus time for yourself, that can improve your efficiency. And you don't spend, like I personally, before that, I spent the whole day thinking about the problem without taking any action. And it was not healthy at all. I was thinking about the problem when I was eating dinner, when I was trying to sleep, but I knew that I have 1 hour. I'm not going to think about anything else. That 1 hour is my dedicated time to solve that problem. And it's much healthier and it's much more efficient.
Okay, great. You talked about taking courses and upgrading your skills as part of the journey. Do you have any specific, and this is a question that's come in, do you have any specific recommendations for courses that would make someone a better fit for this industry?
Which industry? That's like I can answer for AI and data science industry.
Sure.
If your goal is to apply for small startups, then work on your coding and programming skills, learn the data structure, learn the algorithms. And if you are working in a large enterprise, if you want to work in a large enterprise companies, learn cloud and AWS Azure, because everything is now on cloud. It's something that we don't do that much in university because we are working as a graduate student. You're the only one. You are not collaborating. Your data is limited. You are not pushing your models to production. But when you go to enterprise, everything is about product. So learn scalable AI tools. It can be cloud, it can be DevOps tools, it can be, I can't remember their names, but tools like Databricks, MLflow, there are so many of them. Just learn the definition of the product and how you can make your model scalable. That's really important in machine learning and AI.
Okay, great. I see a couple of hands raised. Maysam, you were first, so if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for the informative session. My question is regarding that experience that you shared about like not getting the job, but being referred to to other people, like basically, and expanding on that. Could you please elaborate a little bit on that? Because usually you ask for feedback after interviews, and they give you a general basically template answer sometimes, or sometimes add some personal stuff and reflections. But how exactly could you turn it around into I understand that they were impressed by your qualifications for sure, but how come they didn't hire you at the moment? And then how did it how did you get connected to those people, and how did you basically continue onwards from that point?
Yeah, sure. It was a great question. Okay, when you get a rejection on a job application, first thing first, it's not personal. I, as Razi Bayati, I don't know everything. So it is real, and it's a really harsh industry. So there are always people that know better than me. It is there is no doubt about it. Something that I learned during my interviews is that I should be authentic. So I might not be the good fit for that position, but when I show my true self and my skills, they might refer me to someone else. I might not get that job, but this is what happened. I didn't get that job because of some problem in my application, and maybe there were someone better than me. Definitely there was someone better than me, but I was truly my true self during the interview. I showed them how valuable I am. I shared my story with them. I shared my skills, how can I add their company and add value to their company. And they were like, hey, you might not fit to our company at this current stage, but you're a great fit for company X and Z, and they invited me to them. So look at the interviews. It's really hard. When you're looking for a job, it's really difficult to get there and get rejected and still be happy. No, I know it's really hard, but look at each interview as a networking session where you have 30 minutes to 1 hour time with hiring manager of a company, and they are going to listen to you. You don't get that, you don't get to find that opportunity anytime else. Like it's really rare that a director of a company dedicates 1 hour of his or her time on their calendar to you if it's not interview, because they're busy and they have so many things to do. But during interview, they're all ears and they're listening to you. So try to be your true self. You don't need to prove that you can solve all of the problems in the world. Show them that you are eager to learn new things, and show them that you are a good person to work with. You might not get the job, but you'll get a great network.
Thank you.
Can I add a follow-up for this question, actually? And thank you for the question, Mesa. Was there anything specific in the language of your email that you followed up with them that helped to get a response? Because I know kind of what Mason is asking, I believe also, it's tough to get responses in these situations. Or was it just that it happened to be responsive people on the other side?
So
you might not remember. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. That's a good question, and that is important. So when you're, it's again my experience. There might be some better ways of getting response, but I personally, what I did was that when I was asking for response, I showed them that I was listening during the interview and I have done my research. So I didn't answer with a generic email with them that, hey, I'm really excited. What do you think about me? What's your suggestion? I was like, hey, I went through the LinkedIn. I read this article of yours. I know about this project that you talked about. I reached out to person X that worked in your company before. It seems really interesting and it's related to my previous background experiences. I'm wondering what stopped you from hiring me. Like, you can definitely use better language, but I'm wondering what was the reason, like any feedback, because I feel that I was a good match. Have the evidence, connected to what they have in their company, to people, to projects, to their website, their papers, and try to show them that why it doesn't make sense to you.
Okay, great. Mason, I hope that answers the question. And I think Ting, we'll go to your question in a second. I just wanted to add also, I've seen this happen before also with other people I've worked with in previous jobs where maybe they weren't able to get a job with a company they really liked right away, but there was an opportunity to be involved with that company in a different way. So maybe there was an opportunity to volunteer with them or something else. And I had someone who was referred to a different company because of the impression they made, the exact same story here, because they just didn't have a position for them at that time, but somebody else they knew in the industry had a position. So these are the hidden jobs that Razi was talking about, and truly they exist. Takes a little bit of extra push and effort sometimes to get through to those. So thank you, Razi.
And I think I agree totally, Amir. Something that we should all remind ourselves, then that when we get rejection, there could be so many reasons other than our skills and our qualification. It's not personal at all. They are trying to hire the best person, and it's not always me. It can be anyone. Just don't take it personally.
Okay, Ting, thank you for being patient. Go ahead, ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, Razi, I would like to thank you for sharing all your insights and telling us about how important networking is when it comes to helping us find a job offer. So my question is, my background is in a combined major in math and econ. So I know that many people in computer science, they're also applying for data analyst or data scientist jobs. And there's lots of master's students applying for it. On the job descriptions, I also see, those jobs require, I don't know, at least 3 years of experience or even 5 to 7 years of experience. And I feel my background is just not strong enough. So my question is, how important is your years of experience as well as your education when it comes to selecting the candidates for an interview?
That is a really good question. It depends on the company's hiring process. It depends on the team. It depends on many things. But something that I learned during my experience in industry was that machine learning and AI in particular, which I can't talk about because I have experience, is useful when you apply it on an application. So if you know every detail about deep neural network, every mathematical formula about it, when you want to apply for a job, you should show that you have applied it on an application. And that application can be anything. So it can be biology, it can be geography, it can be electrical engineering, it can be business. So show to the hiring manager, highlight this in your resume that you have applied machine learning and AI to your area of interest. You have applied it to natural language natural language to NLP to solve the problem in your domain area of interest. So if you don't have a degree in computer science, as I didn't have, my 2 masters were in telecommunication and electrical engineering, but I showed them that, hey, I applied deep neural network on 5G and I solved a problem in telecommunication. Even though I'm not computer science, but I know how to use machine learning and AI. Show them that you are able to solve the problem using machine learning and AI. And I think that's the important decision. That's the important characteristic of your resume.
Oh, thank you
Thank you so much.
No worries. Good luck.
Okay, I see Mason hand is up. Go for it.
Yeah, if nobody else has a question. I have a question regarding that elevator pitch that you talked about. So being like a technical person, how do you like choose the combination between like I don't know, when you want to talk about it, like you talk more about your passion or your technical skills or your experiences? How do you like, what's the mix?
I talk about the values I added to each company. So I can say, hey, I worked at Huawei and I worked with SQL and Python, and I created 5 dashboards to show the trend of the link congestion. They don't get it. I can say, hey, I worked at Huawei and I automated 5 Power BI dashboards that helped company to prevent 50% of the incidents from happening. I can like talk about talk about the values more than, because that shows, okay, you were able to run queries, you were able to solve the problem, you were able to detect the problem, you were able to communicate with business. The value is really important. Talk about that.
Sure, thanks.
Okay. We'll continue with the questions that came in advance. And I want to make sure I asked you this because especially in your bio, you talked about the importance of EDI and the work that you do with equity diversity. So one of the questions that came in was, how do you navigate your industry as a woman of color? And how do you leverage community or your network?
I have a bad news and a good news. The bad news is that there is a gap in the industry. We have not been able to close the gender gap in industry. We have not been able to close the salary gap in industry. We don't have enough technical women in STEM because of the many things that we have in our background and many biases and many things. But the good news is that people know this, and companies know this, and there are active actions, active plans are going on to close this gap. It is not fast-paced. It is not going to solve the problem in a year or two. It's going to take many years to solve it. But there are very awesome, amazing women in tech that, like, they have changed my life. So there aren't many, but there are that you can see, look at them and see, okay, she's my role model. She's a woman of color that has done it, and I can do it. When I was interviewing, after a while, I realized all of the jobs that I apply for, during the interview, there is no single woman in the interview panel. And it can happen once or twice, but it's not normal for 10 interviews in a row. And it's kind of discouraging. And the first interview that was my hiring manager was a woman. I said it. I was like, I'm really happy. And I said the reason. And she was really supportive. I still were connected. Women are supporting each other. They are speaking up. They are talking about this discrimination. And it's going to be better. And I personally, this is my this is also my personal passion. I'm co-chairing Rogers Women in Tech. I'm trying to have more women in STEM. I'm trying to show that technical jobs are not based on the gender. I'm trying, and I'm sure that many others are trying, and you can add to this. You can contribute to this community and to these actions, and you can be part of this change.
Great. Can you speak a little bit about adjusting to different work cultures in different organizations, but also in different countries? You have experience in a couple of different countries and also different organization sizes, startups, big companies. And I'm curious after that, if anything specifically has surprised you, good or bad, about the Canadian work culture.
Yeah, there were different working culture, and it wasn't bad or good. It was just different. Something that I learned from my mentor that was really helpful was that he told me that, hey, for the first few weeks, listen and learn, and after that, unleash your power. When you are going to any new company, it can be a new country or new organization, new industry, try to listen for as much as time that you can. Listen and learn. What is the best way of communicating with people? Is it via email? Is it via chat? Is it in-person communication? Who is the person who's most influential in the team? Find them and connect with them. Who is the mastermind behind all of the algorithms? Find them. And when it's important to know who you are reaching to and when you are reaching to. And yeah, it was different from country to country. But if you are open to new organization, like, it's always different. Just learn and adapt yourself. It's challenging, but it's not impossible.
And would you say startup versus established company like Rogers, what is the change there that you've noticed?
In startups, things happens much faster because you don't have to go through the processes of getting access. When I joined my first startup job, the first day I had access to every environment, and I started working at 12 p.m. But in Rogers, it took me 3 weeks to get access. It's slower because there are so many things going on. We are trying, in big companies, we are trying to make things scalable. So we are not, like sometimes the faster is not the best way. Sometimes we sacrifice time because of the efficiency. So two different environments. If you are working in industry, working in startups, it's really sometimes stressful. You are taking ownership of a huge part of a project. And in the organizations like in corporates, it's another kind of stress. You are changes that you make in big companies affects much more people. What we do at Rogers, changes that we make, we are talking about millions of people. So I might be a small part of a big team, but that team's mission is to make a change for many people. Yeah, those are different, really.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I'm curious, you're an international student at UBC. What do you think are some advantages that international students have, maybe in skill sets or experiences that they can bring with themselves to their time at UBC and then to work? And maybe what are some disadvantages or some challenges that you could face as an international student?
Something that I learned is that when you are an international student, you are fearless. So you left everything that you had in the home country and came here, new language, new people, and you're not afraid of anything anymore. And it makes you a really good fighter. At least this is what I learned. The challenges that I overcame during the first year of moving to a new country made me a really strong person. And I'm not being humble about it at all. I know that what international students go through, challenges of learning a new language, challenges of creating a new network in the new country, challenges of getting familiar with the culture, cultural shock. Like I've been there, and I think that's only made me stronger. And that actually is a proof to me when I see an international candidate. It's true. It's a proof to me that they are fearless.
Great. I'm trying to see. There's still quite a few questions that had come in before. What helps you overcome challenges? We just talked about, being fearless and doing all of that. So what helps you overcome challenges? How did you know when it was time to make the tough decisions to make the transition for your career?
I changed my perspective and changed the definition of failure in my life. Failure is not a bad thing for me anymore. It's a sign that I'm growing and I'm learning new skills. So I'm not afraid of making mistake anymore. I'm trying, like it's an ongoing process, but I'm trying to be less, to just try new things, not think about the result. I may fail, that's fine. I learned a new thing. But yeah, I'm not afraid of making a mistake anymore.
And what would you say, we have a couple more questions before we wrap up. So if anybody has any questions still, please raise your hand. I'll ask you this then, speaking of still challenges, what would you consider as the toughest challenge you've faced throughout your career so far?
Oh, that's a good question. Making decision to change the company. So I was lucky, really lucky, to be in really awesome teams. So whenever it was time to make decision to change the industry, it was tough for me because I didn't know if it's the time. I wasn't sure that if it's the time or not. And to be honest, sometimes I made mistake. Sometimes it wasn't the best decision that I could make. But changing changing the industry and moving to new role, that's really challenging.
Okay. And I see someone sent in a question, so I'll ask you this one first before going to our last question. So thank you for the amazing and motivating presentation. Could you tell us some examples of the skills you mentioned to handle difficult conversation more specifically? How did you develop those skills?
I had a slide actually in my presentation about how to sharpen your skills for critical thinking. One of them says that hold your hypothesis loosely. And that is really important when it comes to difficult conversation. If you go into a meeting with this assumption that that person is not collaborative, so I'm going there to fight and show that if they don't help me, this is the consequences, then you're not going to get anything out of it. When you are in a situation like that, try to be as collaborative as possible. Try to define actionable items. Try to just have the bullet points ready whenever someone says, hey, this is the solution. Try to make that as an action. Change that idea to an action and assign it to someone in that conversation. Difficult conversation is part of every job. And you can't control the people working around you. You can't change them. You can't force them to do things. It's just your skills to handle these conversations. This is essential. And to be honest, you'll learn it over time. Just try it. Try to be collaborative. Try to create actionable items, and hopefully you'll learn necessary skills.
It's one of those tough situations where you kind of need to experience it to figure out what to do
Exactly.
better next
Exactly.
time. So yeah,
Exactly.
you learn it on the job, kind of.
Exactly. And I promise you, there will be so many awkward situations when there is an awkward silence that no one is talking and someone should do something. When there is like a strict no, there is no way we can do this, and you should find a workaround. There are so many awkward situations, but you'll learn it along the way. Okay. Just be kind to yourself. If you made a mistake, that's okay. You're learning.
It's a good message for life in general, I think.
Yes.
Okay, I'll ask you a final question here. What is the most important takeaway that you would like the audience to leave with today?
That graph that I shared, get out of your comfort zone. If you are not failing, if you are not making mistake, that's not a good sign for me. That means that you are so used to your comfort zone and you're not growing. Accept mistake as a part of your life, as a journey, and keep making mistakes.
Okay.
Is it the best? I don't think it's the best kind of suggestion.
I think it's a good piece of advice. It's scary to fail. So I think if you are able to move past failing, whatever that means, I think that's an important skill, because whether you have your own business or you're working for a big organization, small, mistakes are going to happen, and you see it all the time where people might get stuck in a mistake and then kind of spiral from there. So exactly. No, I think that's really good advice.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody for attending, for your questions. Thank you, Razi, for your time and for your presentation and for just sharing your experiences. We're going to share a slide in a second on the screen here. This is just a survey for you all to let us know what you thought of the event. It really helps us in organizing future events that we do through the center. Just scan the QR code and you should be able to go through and do the survey. It should take a couple of minutes. We will hold more office hours events over the coming months. Everything is scheduled through the UBC events calendar on Careers Online. We have one in November, one in October, pretty much one every month going forward. You can also come and visit us and Razi in October 6th for our career fair.
Yes.
You can register for that also on Careers Online and find it on the events calendar. And we hope to see you all over the coming months in all of our events. Thank you again for being here. And thank you, Razi.
Yeah, thank you, Amir, for having me, and hope to see you all soon in the career events. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.